So let's proceed. Perek Daled, Shar Tshuva of the Chos of Avos. Ikronos hayisod shel tshuva hemarba. There are four fundamental, foundational points of tshuva. Echad sheischaret ala avonos shasa. Number one is that one has to feel bad about what they did. Sheyazvasam v'yosem mehem. You have to leave them and turn away from the averes. That's beis. Gimel she is vadesh also some ivakish sichaleim. So unlike the Rambam who puts vidui as sort of a separate component that connects to tshuva, he makes it one of the four, because according to the Rambam there are three, and then he mentions vidui as being sort of an overriding factor that sort of connects to all of them. He actually puts it as a separate category and makes it into four. So one was the charata, two was leaving the sin, three is the oral confession, shizvadish also samivakish sichaleim, to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to please forgive us for doing the avera, and dalit shekabalatzmo b'libo umatzpunoi shlasa osam od, and to accept upon oneself in their heart and their inner soul and their inner being to commit to not doing the sin anymore. Okay, so acharata, charata is a true sign that the act that we did, that the person did, is truly repulsive. That's the really only sign that you have that the person truly feels bad about having done it. How could you do tshuva when there isn't an inner angst, an inner embarrassment almost that I did the sin? Someone who is aware returns and feels bad about the sin. Somebody doesn't feel bad about their sins and continues to do the sin. There is no man feeling bad about the sin. That's Yirmiyahu sort of bemoaning the state of affairs in Klal Yisrael at that time. That no one feels bad. If no one feels bad, that means no one is changing their ways, and obviously that's a very serious problem. So the charata is the fundamental beginning point of tshuva, because as I think I mentioned last time, there are people who sometimes look back, at their pre-religious days, okay, before they became religious, and they sort of they look back at their whatever they did when they were younger, and they sort of revel in those good old days, so to speak. And while I'm not saying that a person has to pay for things that they were never aware of when they weren't, if they were never aware of Torah, I'm not saying that, but it's a sign that can you really do tshuva for things that a person did when, let's say, they didn't know, or many similar situations, but that's just one sign. If you're looking back and sort of saying that's a good old days when things were really great, back there in my college fraternity, it's not coming from a point of view of tshuva. That's not a reference point of an emotional state where one is ready to, really feel bad about what one did and go through the next steps. You can't get it. You even can't get off the ground at all. We see this also by people in terms of regular relationships. If a person sins to his friend, and shows that person that he truly does feel bad about sinning against another, Jew, that's a tremendous cause. Right, many people will sit there in judgment about whether or not you're sincere about your tshuva. Well, that's going to be sort of the litmus test about how a person responds. And very often the charata is the gorem. He says the feeling bad evokes a sense of sort of compassion and empathy. Oh my gosh, don't feel so bad. It's okay, I'm mocha you. Because if you really feel bad, then that's really a source. It creates the rachmanis on the part of the person who was affected and insulted or hurt in any which way. So that is an aspect that apparently HaKadosh Baruch Hu responds to as well. So that's number one, charata. Okay, so we're pretty much where we were, where we ended off. Number two is aziva sachet. Hu simin shehu maimin b'emunah shleima b'schar v'yonesh. Leaving the sin is is a fundamental sign that a person believes in the principle of schar v'onesh, in reward and punishment. If you didn't put Kamosh Shemar, Yazav Rosh Darkav Yishav in Machshavoisav, Yishav al Hashem V'rachmeu. Person, the Rosh leaves his ways, okay, and the person who does iniquity leaves the bad thoughts that he had, then he returns to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has compassion on him. But it has to first be that you stop doing what you did. And that's obviously, why would you stop? You stop because you know that there's a repercussion for your sin. You're afraid of what's going to be. And somebody who does not leave their sin and continues to do this sin, well, even with the charata, that's going to sort of fall empty. It's going to be meaningless because you're just going right back to the sin. So what is it that you're really accomplishing with your charata? Somebody who continues to do this sin, the pasuk in Yeshayahu says, "Nemar bavon bitzoy kutzafti," in the sin of his geneva, of his stealing, of his monetary wrongdoing. I became angry at him. So the Kodesh Baruch Hu, okay, and I hit him. I punished him. The exof, and I got angry. V'elech shova b'derech liboy, and I became even more angry because I saw that he went in the way of his heart. He continued to do what he wanted to do. Even as I removed myself from him and I punished him and I showed him that I'm distancing myself from you, you continue to do what you did. That's a sign that HaKadosh Baruch Hu that's a cause that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will even move himself further from you and result in even more anger. So if a person is obstinate and does not change his ways, that's obviously, again, a sign that there's a fundamental part of tshuva that's missing. This too we see with people. There are those people who, when they do something wrong to a friend, okay, and a person feels bad about what they did, and doesn't continue to do it, that becomes now, I see you're not doing the same thing. I told you it annoys me. I told you it bothers me. So if you're going to continue to do it, then with all your bad feeling, I'm not going to forgive you. But if I see that you feel bad and you also have aziva sachet, you've left the sin, okay, that will cause the friend to forgive him and to have give him a full mechila and basically to pardon the person completely. Okay, those are two out of the four so far: the charata and the aziva sechet. The third, which is the vidui component, which we know again is fundamental. That's what we do so often on Yom Kippur. The 10 vidus that we do, but koshes hasicha hisimin shumachnia umashvos asbov te'elakim. The critical part of vidui, what's the oral confession all about? Because I always bothered by this. Kosh Baruch Hu, what I have to, and everyone talks about the fact that you have to it's got to be verbal. You got to speak out the vidui. Saying vidui in your heart, saying vidui in your thoughts doesn't cut it. And always bothered me when HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't know my thoughts. So here, at least one of the answers, I think the Chos of Oz is supplying one of the reasons. It's not about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The point so often is it's always about us. In other words, it's what we get and what we are able to grow from the experience. And when a person asks for mechila, clearly he articulates it. Doesn't just stay inside. It's a simin shumachnia umashvul satzmo fenelakim. The person truly subjugated himself and lowered himself before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that subjugation and that lowering, that humility is a major factor in HaKadosh Baruch Hu saying, okay, I forgive you. As the pasuk in Mishlei says, somebody who admits and leaves a sin gets compassion. HaKadosh Baruch Hu forgives that person. The person will not be able to admit or doesn't admit that the person sinned. You just can't articulate those words. You can't bring yourself to articulate those words, or you just don't. Nemar, the pasuk says in Yirmiyahu, Hineni nishpat oisach al amrech lo chatasi. I'm going to judge you on your statement that you didn't sin, because you're not ready to say that you sinned. V'nemar b'chaseb shov lo yatziach. If you cover up your sin, if you're not willing to acknowledge it, you're not willing to say, I'm sorry. Yes, this is what I did. I messed up, I feel terrible. Those words, even though we're talking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows what's in our heart, but saying it has a different impact. Saying it is a greater act of humility and of subjugation, and that's a critical component in the Teshuva process. And therefore, if we sort of cover it up and don't want to talk about it, that's not a good sign. And that person will not be matzliach. V'dov is interesting. Every single component that he talks about when it comes to Teshuva, he then brings it to the Ben Olma Chaver relationship level and says we find the same thing between humans. Sort of telling us that, one of the ways that we can understand the relation we have with HaKadosh Baruch Hu is by seeing the way humans react, and somehow we can sort of learn from there and extrapolate into obviously a different level relationship. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't have human qualities, but at the same time it gives us the ability to relate to it better. So by thinking about the human dynamic, that allows us to appreciate the higher level relationship. When a person sins against a friend, and a person lowers himself in front of the individual, please, I admit I did something terrible, I did something wrong, and the person says, yes, I hurt you, I pained you, I did something terrible, and then ask for slicha from that person, and obviously, again, you can't ignore the first two steps. So I hear the oral confession, I hear what you're saying, I hear your apology, I see your charat, I feel your heart that you truly feel bad, and I also see obviously that you're not, doing it anymore. You stopped the hurtful actions. Okay, and the friend recognizes that you truly feel bad. There's an immediate response. Yes, amochiyu, we're good. Let's move on. And the person is able to remove the sinner that they had. So I guess the Chozov is sort of teaching us, why don't you think about how you react to situations, and if you understand that when somebody hurts you and then comes to you honestly and sincerely and with humility, asks for mechila, speaks it out, is verbal about it, and feels bad about it, and doesn't continue to do it anymore, that evokes in your heart and brings about in your heart a sense of compassion that you're literally able to remove the sinner. Miyad, he says. He forgives him right away. Umeisim elibos sinner shesholov, and removes the hatred that he had upon him. So this is, hatred is a hard emotion. It's obviously not something that should be in our hearts, but obviously for hurt, somebody really did something that really truly bothers us, that could result in sinner. But amazingly, when there's sincerity on the person's part to go to that individual, that will remove the sinner. So we've taken care of 3 out of the 4. What's the 4th component? And the resolve not to go back to that sin, not to do the sin again, that's a sign of how deeply embedded it is in the person's heart of how terrible this is. And how great that sin that I perpetrated is, when I make this Kabbalah losid that I'm not going to do it anymore. If I've done wrong, I will not continue. Take with you words and return to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Imru Elav, and say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ashur lo shi'enu, v'lo namar od elokenu ma'is yedenu. That we will hopefully Pasuk Roshaya, Ashur lo yoshi'enu, v'namar od elokenu ma'is yedenu. I guess if a person stays with this sin, he will not be saved. I guess HaKadosh Baruch will no longer say about our actions that they're no good. I guess this is what a person is trying to avoid, that HaKadosh Baruch will not bail that person out, will not save that individual. So in order to avoid that from happening, then a person must do tshuva and chui mochem devarim v'shuva Hashem. I think that's. I did not look up this pasuk, but I think that's what he's saying. I don't know if you have an English Tanakh here. Yeah, okay, just to be sure.
There's a song.
There is a song like that.
Yeah,
that part. I'm talking about the second part. That was it's a little harder. Okay, the almisha einam makabel alatzmo lo lagzel l'suro. Okay, if a person does not accept upon himself not to go back to that same place, so if a person basically does the other three components, admits that he did wrong, and leaves the sin right now, is right now not engaged in the sin, and feels bad about having done the sin, but not ready to commit to say it won't happen again. If you're not ready to say it won't happen again, so there, Nemar Hayafoch Kushi Oro V'Nomer Chababrosov. Okay, can somebody dark change his skin? Can a leopard change his spots? Okay, can you also your bad actions? You're able to change them. It doesn't just come naturally. There needs to be an inner resolve to say, I'm not going back to this. I'm not going to do this anymore. So that last step of Kabbalah al-Asad is a very important step. And that's really the step that really paralyzes a lot of people because we do feel bad about things that we do, but very often we don't feel we can make that Kabbalah. Okay, let's just pick Lashon Hara as a good example. I mean, we all feel terrible about speaking Lashon Hara. Oh, thanks. We all feel terrible about speaking Lashon Hara. So I think we can muster the Charata. We can even muster the Aziva Sechet a little bit. Let's say, we pick say for the next few days, I'm going to make sure, I'm going to, leave it. I'm not going to sin. I'm not going to speak, but I'm ready to say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I will never come back here. I'm never going to do this sin again. That's a tough thing to say. And when you read the Rambam like this, and which is similar to what the Chozav was saying, then the question becomes: if I can't say that, how do I actually, raise, any hopes that I'm actually able to do this and and fulfill the tshuva? Second.
The same thing, like when you apologize to somebody, like I'm sorry, and I promise I'm gonna try not to do it again. So I'm saying, bli neder, I'm gonna try not to do it again. So that doesn't take a little bit out of your apology, like.
When you say I'm going to try, you mean?
I think you say trying is to still be considered like an apology.
Well, again, you have an apology, but you want to hear. I want to hear that's never going to happen again. Because you want to hear those words. This is not going to. I want to hear from you. This is not going to happen again. I can't tell you. I cannot tell you that if I have a good line, okay, that I could say about you in front of 20 people that will make everybody laugh and put you into the ground. I cannot commit to you that I'm not going to say it anymore. I can't. Because, it might just be too tempting for me and I'm just going to, let you have it again. So that's not, then you fall short. You've fallen short. You need that Kabbalah al-Asad. So it's Shea Yudalid Gimel.
But how you do so much? I have kids that are already bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah age, and still you're trying to get them to apology, but they're going to do it again the next time and the next time. And even their siblings know it. Yeah, it's apologizing, but I don't believe.
Okay. So again, when you're dealing with kids, we get that. That's and the difference is, I guess when we get a little bit older, and then we're expecting more out of the person and out of ourselves. We're learning from here that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to hear that Kabbalah al-Asad. Now, having said that, does that mean therefore that what? It's not a tshuva. It's not a tshuva if we can't. I mean, how can people say I'm going to learn Torah every opportunity? Can people say I'm never going to speak Lashon Hara? I'm never going to talk during davening? Whatever the things that we have as a weakness, can we really say that? But one of the answers given is that we say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I don't want to go back to this, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please help me not to go back to this. So at least that gives us a little bit of an opening. But this is a scary condition because for many of us there are certain averos that we simply cannot commit. Okay, just 1 second. Pasuk Gimel. Take words with you. Return to Hashem. Say to him, may you forgive all iniquity and accept good intentions. Let our lips substitute for both. Okay. Okay, 1 second. Assyria will not save us. We will not ride upon horses. We will no longer say, "Oh, our gods," to the work of our hands. For it is with you that an orphan finds mercy. Syria will not save us. Ashur here means it's referring to other country. Okay, so as we have to recognize. Okay, we will not be saved by some Syria, some country that is powerful, that maybe we've been kowtailing to and being subservient to. We will no longer say, "Oh, our God," to the work of our hands. So in other words, we will not idolize the work of our hands. We will not say that it's all me. That's what it means. I guess so. So he's showing from this pasuk that there needs to be a recognition that there is no longer will I maintain this false. This is really referring to a sort of false mentality, thinking that outward and external forces are going to help me. Syria is not going to help me. Stop honoring and bowing down to the work of your hands. That's not what is going to give you koach. That was really the aver. So the point is you have to stop doing that and recognize that no longer will you have that philosophy. No longer will you have that mentality. So you need that resolve to have things change in the future. The Kabbalah also is very critical, and even though it's sort of daunting for many Averis, but we have to at least try. At least we have to say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu help us never to come back to this sin. Okay, and therefore, if we don't have that resolve, we're not going to really change our ways. That's really what the pasuk ends. Gamatem tuchlu heitiv lemudei ra. Are you able to change your evil habits? Well, it means you have to. If you're going to be sort of half baked about it, it's not going to happen. You need to have true resolve to become a different person. So let's continue. And again, here's the fourth component that he speaks about the way it manifests itself in regular human relationships. When you have a person who sins to his friend, and you show your friend that you truly feel bad that you did what you did, and you're going to stop from doing it anymore, and you admitted that you sinned, okay, so for the first three components, you feel bad, you ask for forgiveness, and you stop doing what you did. But now comes the fourth component. If you say to your friend, "I commit to you, this will not happen again." Okay, it's not just that you stop doing it. You're making a commitment, a verbal commitment that this is not going to happen anymore. Now you've done everything and anything there is to do to get your friend to let this pass. The Yosef Menu as Ashma, that person will remove from his emotions the sin that he's been hurt by. Yarchik Menu as Onesh, and he will be removed from all punishment because you've really gone to the max in terms of how far, what else you can do. These are the four components that involve tshuva, and when you've done this, you've sort of closed the full circle on tshuva. Because a Baal Tshuva Mekayim Arbas Ikra Tshuva Lalu, and a Baal Tshuva fulfills these four conditions. There's a Pratim Shel Kol Echad Mehem, and the details of each one of them. Shnevar Osam Perak Haba, which is coming up in the next parak, because each one of these four levels has 5 components to it. They really have a lot more components, but minimally he's going to articulate 5 aspects and 5 details for each one of the 4 fundamental principles, meaning the grand total will be 20 points to keep in mind. So if you want to start working on the chart now, the list of the 20, we can work on that now and hopefully have it for Shuas. Okay, let's see. Which I'm going to explain in the next parak. So the Chosavos tells us if you're able to master these 4 parts, and these are not easy at all, they're going to be even harder when you go through all of the details of each one. But if you can master this, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will forgive you on your sin, which is an incredible concept. How do in the world you do something wrong when you know that it was wrong, you know it should not have been done, and yet you're going to do these 4 things. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to erase it away. Amazing. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will forgive him on his iniquity. Even when a person does a sin, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says lo yinakeh, he will not be free. He will not just let it go. For example, if a person swore falsely or in vain, or God forbid does the unthinkable of living with a married woman, commits adultery. You'd say, how do you go back from that? How do you do tshuva from that? Hatshuva po'ele shabore makel es onshabal mazeh umetevo bal mabah. The tshuva still helps, even though the Torah says lo yinakeh means you won't be completely free, but there will be an incredible accomplishment of this tshuva to the extent that the tshuva will be poor, that it will lessen the punishment in this world, and you will derive benefit from that tshuva in the next world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will do kindness to you and goodness to you and good to you in the next world. Vishu chozelios begedet tzaddik, and you can actually go back to the realm of being a tzaddik. Okay, so a person can sink to such a low state of committing adultery, and yet through the process of and the cleansing of tshuva, be in the category of a tzaddik. Okay, the redemption will come. The Redeemer will come to Zion, to Eretz Yisrael, and to those who return from sin in amongst Yaakov, the Klal Yisrael. If you do tshuva, if you return to me. I will place you in front of me always. Okay, you will stand in front of me, meaning that you'll be in the highest levels of Gan Eden in the status of a tzaddik. That's how far you can go in your return. Right, so he explains on the bottom that this pasuk indicates that even though you might have done the most horrific sins, it does not mean you will not be part of the gula. So it's more than just the olam haba, the next world. It's even when Mashiach comes and the gula comes, you will be zocheh to be in that part of Klal Yisrael that's part of the redemption, that zocheh to see Mashiach, because you've done shuv and you've expunged the sin. Okay, fine. What you shall get is vital. Yes, he adds more of the psukim in the bottom. So talking about the adultery, he references both sins: the sin of a vain oath, which is of course a very severe aver, and of course the aver of adultery. And despite all that, yes, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bring you back. Okay, so that ends Perek Daled, and we're now ready for Perek Hey. So now we've got the 4 fundamental points of tshuva. Now comes the details. In Perek Hey, we get the details of that tshuva, and so let's just proceed. Aprotim shel ikra et tshuva rab ma'od. Okay, the details of these principles, these 4 foundational principles, are many. There are many, many details, and we know that there's a beautiful sefer, of course, a very fundamental sefer in the Muslis farm called Shari Tshuva. And Shari Tshuva is, this is Shar HaTshuva, is a sefer written by Rabbeinu Yonah called Shari Tshuva. And that really is sort of the classic work on Tshuva that goes into all of the details, all the different emotions that a person has to go through to really reach the ultimate of tshuva.
Didn't we cover that one time before Yom Kippur at your house? Years ago?
I think we did the Rambam on Hilchos Tshuva. That's what we did. We did a few of the prakim of the Rambam. I don't think we ever actually did Shari Tshuva, but it's certainly a important sefer to do, no question. Here are the details of the Ikrei Tshuva, and there are many. And I cannot articulate all of them; it's simply too many. Okay, I'd have to write a separate sefer just on Tshuva, and I'm going to leave that for Rabbi Yonah to do. But despite my inability to articulate all of the details, I'm going to tell you 20. I'm going to give you 20 pratim. What?
Just 20.
Yeah, just 20. It's manageable. And I will detail for you in each of the Ikrei Tshuva, the 4 Ikrei Tshuva, 5 details. That through these 5, in explaining the fundamentals, it'll bring it to its complete totality. There'll be a full culmination of the understanding of what that Ikr is and how does one, master it to its fullest degree. So each one is going to have 5 details, and if we can do these 5 details, we can say we've truly reached Charata. We've truly reached Aziva Sechet. We've truly reached Vidui, and we've truly reached Kabbalah Lassen. So those are the 4, and now there's going to be 5 in each one. So let's start with the Charata, which seems to be the first step. He maintains, and I guess it's very logical that the first step in tshuva is feeling bad that you did a sin. If you don't feel bad, how do you even get off the ground? There are other people who say, other Rishonim say that sometimes you can't start with Charata. Sometimes you have to start with Aziva Sechet, because sometimes you simply can't feel bad to actually remove yourself from the sin. And if you're going to first wait for the remorse can't come until you can actually get yourself out of the mess. So I guess, let's say, if you sort of take an addict as an extreme example, right? Can an addict really feel bad about being an addict and whatever they're addicted to, sometimes terrible things? Okay, you can't really feel bad till you get yourself out of the addiction. If you're still in the addiction, no matter what happens, you're not really feeling bad because you're just craving and you're thinking about the next time you're going to go back into what you're going to do. So sometimes you need Aziva Sechet, which could bring about the Charata, but more often than not, the Charata is the first step, and that's what he keeps bringing in terms of the first stage, in the first phase, is the remorse. And these are the 5 details regarding Charata. Echad, Number 1, you have to be afraid. You might get punished. There's got to be a feeling of, real concern. I did a sin, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, might zap me for it. Okay, the recognition of the possibility of retribution that might come soon, because we don't know HaKadosh Baruch Hu's level of forbearance. We don't know how long HaKadosh Baruch Hu's going to wait. So a person being concerned and afraid that the punishment might come right away, okay, that brings one to a greater level of charata. As the pasuk says, "Tunu Hashem lekechem kavod b'terem yachshech v'terem yisnakfu raglechem al horei noshef." Okay, you better give yourself to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, okay, before things get bleak, okay, before all the tzaras come upon you and your eyes get dark, and before you snack for lechem, okay, before your feet stumble and you can, God forbid, be sent out into exile and terrible things can happen to you. Al Horei Neshef, he translates on the mountains of darkness. So get with it quickly. You don't know when the darkness is coming, and you want to beat, obviously, you want to beat HaKadosh Baruch Hu to that day, and therefore by returning to HaKadosh Baruch Hu earlier, you're circumventing, Bez Hashem, that negative possibility. That's number 1. Be concerned about punishment. Beis, Shilo Leiv Nishbar Vachnolfna Lukim B'chal Chatom Shasa. You have to come to Kadosh Baruch Hu not just with a sense of concern and fear, but with a broken heart. True humility in front of God, because of the sins that one did. Okay, my nation lowered themselves in front of me, that I placed my name upon them. They had true achna. That's a very important virtue, and that's a sign that Hakadosh Baruch Hu, will look upon us favorably. So number one is pachad. Number two is hachna. Number three, shishana es mabusha v'tachshitav. Okay, this is what the Rambam also talks about of going to an extreme of becoming like a different person. So what do you do in the process of doing tshuva? You change your clothing, you change your garb, your jewelry, your ornaments. The yara simanim shel charata b'diburo u'v'achilaso. You show signs of remorse in your speech. And in your eating, in all of your movements, sort of get off your high horse and establish much more humble type of appearance and representation. So you're not this flamboyant big shot who just sort of, everything's great. You're manifesting a true awareness of the problems that you've gone through with the sins that you've committed. K'mo alzos chigru sakim siftu ve'elilu. About these sins, you should wear sackcloth. You should mourn and wail to Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, so you wear the sackcloths of man and of animal. I guess animal skins, whatever. So, but again, all of this indicates that it has to come with a physical manifestation too. Now, nowadays, obviously, again, it's harder to do this, and we have responsibilities. Maybe privately, that's what they used to do. The Bali Musar would go privately to the Beis Musar and maybe change the clothing there. Obviously, you're showing up at work. You got to show up in the expected fashion, but there's hopefully time for a person to manifest this remorse in different ways, even nowadays. That's number three. Number four, sheyifke v'yitzak v'yisabel mitoch harata al chatom she'asa. A person has to cry and to call out and to mourn through true remorse for the sins that a person did. So this connects very much to three. Three was the physical manifestation, and that's three, and four is the emotional outpouring of tears and of true remorse over the sins that a person did. My face pours forth torrents of tears. That I did not observe your Torah. Between the antechamber and the altar, the Kohanim cried, the servants of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it needs to be tears. We need to find emotion within us to shed tears over that which we've done wrong. And that is a very important component. And finally, a person should shame oneself internally. Okay, in his inner core, how could I not have fulfilled my responsibilities to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Don't tear your clothing, tear your heart. Okay, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants sincerity. So very often we fell into the trap of doing physical things without the internal emotions to accompany them. We offer the sacrifice, we don't have the tshuva that comes along with the carbon. So these are things that Hakadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want, these halfway measures. The physical stuff is fine if the physical stuff is a impetus to get the internal emotions moving in the right direction. So here too, the fifth step is that there needs to be inner shame, an inner feeling of absolute embarrassment, and for standing in front of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, how could I have done this? So this is very quickly again of the first foundational principle, which is charata. There needs to be fear of punishment. There needs to be a broken heart. There needs to be a physical change of one's appearance. There needs to be tears and crying out in true mourning, and finally an inner shame that one has to accompany. So these are things that require a lot of thought, a lot of focus, a lot of introspection. And if one fulfills these 5 components, then at least we can say we've mastered charata, which takes us 1/4 of the way through Teshuva. As Hashem will pick up next week.